Hello, mic testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. So this is probably gonna be my first audio. I don't know if I'm gonna use a video in this audio, but I have no idea what I'm doing at the moment. Probably let's say it's a podcast. It sounds so like good when you hear your own voice listening. Right now I'm listening to my own voice. I got this handy recorder with me at the moment. I just bought it today and I'm just experimenting with it. So that's it, guys. And I'm thinking to, I don't know, maybe read a book and maybe read a lot of books. So I can maybe put it on the internet, maybe on the YouTube, so that the people who are interested in reading the books but don't have time, they can actually listen to this podcast, and they can save their time to read the book. They can listen to it when they are cooking or when they are driving, so that they don't need to spend a lot of time on reading the books. For those who doesn't have much time, it would be for someone who goes to office or who works a lot. Okay, so I got this book today. I saw it on my room. The subtitle, Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It should be fuck, okay? It has a black thing on it. There's no word, but I'm pretty much sure that the title of the book is the subtle. Subtle? I thought it was a subtitle. Subtle. The subtle. The subtle art of not giving a fuck. I'm not so good at English. It's not my first language, so don't mind, guys. Counterintuitive. Oh my god, it's so hard to pronounce. Counterintuitive. Fuck. What am I reading? Counterintuitive. Okay, a counterintuitive approach to living a good life. Mark Manson. So I think he's the writer of this book. Hilarious, confronting, and damn refreshing. A good kick in the ass. Chris Hemsworth. That was the word by Chris Hemsworth. So everything that you hear right now is written in the book. On the first page, I don't know what it's called. The first page, like the magazine. The first in the book. Okay, the outer look of the book. The first page. I don't know if it's a page or not a page. This hard copy. Okay, let's get into the contents. Okay, contents. Chapter 1, Don't Try. So today I'm gonna read a chapter 1, Don't Try, and I'll probably read out all the chapters in different recordings, so that whoever like to listen to whatever, they can listen. So it's gonna be a first chapter today. It goes like this. Charles Bukowski was an alcoholic, a womanizer, a chronic gambler, a lout, a cheapskate, a deadbeat, and on his worst days, a poet. He's probably the last person on earth you would ever look to for life advice or expect to see in any sort of self-help book, which is why he's the perfect place to start. Bukowski wanted to be a writer, but for decades, his work was rejected by almost every magazine, newspaper, journal, agent, and publisher he submitted to. His work was horrible, they said, crude, disgusting, depraved, and as the stacks of rejection slips piled up, the weight of his failures pushed him deep into an alcohol-fueled depression that would follow him for most of his life. Bukowski had a day job as a letter filer at a post office. He got paid shit money and spent most of it on booze. Page number 2. He gambled away the rest of the racetrack. At night, he would drink alone, sometimes hammer out poetry on his beat up old typewriter. Often, he would wake up on the floor having passed out on the night before. 30 years went by like this. Most of it is a meaningless blur of alcohol, drugs, gambling, and prostitutes. Then, when Bukowski was 50, after a lifetime of failure, and when Bukowski and self-loathing, an editor at a small independent publishing house took a strange interest in him. The editor couldn't offer Bukowski much money or much promise of sales, but he had a weird affection for the drunk loser, so he decided to take a chance on him. It was the first real shot Bukowski had ever gotten, and he realized probably the only one he would ever get. Bukowski wrote back to the editor, "I have one of two choices. Stay in the post office and go crazy, or stay out of here, play and writer, or starve. I have decided to starve." Upon signing the contract, Bukowski wrote his first novel in 3 weeks. It was called simply Post Office. In this dedication, he wrote, "Dedicated to nobody." Bukowski would make it as a novelist and poet. He would go on to publish 6 novels and hundreds of poems. Selling over 2 million copies of his books, his popularity defied everyone's expectations, particularly his own. Stories like Bukowski's are bread and butter of our cultural narrative. Bukowski's life embodies the American dream. A man fights for what he wants, never gives up, and eventually achieves his wildest dreams. It's practically a movie waiting to happen. We all look at the stories like Bukowski's and say, "See, he never gave up. He never stopped trying. He always believed in himself. He persisted against all the odds and makes something of himself." Damn, that sounds like so motivational, man. Okay, let's continue. It is then strange that on Bukowski's tombstone, the epitaph reads, "Don't try." See, despite the book sales and the fame, Bukowski was a loser. He knew it, and his success stemmed not from some determination to be a winner, but from the fact that he knew he was a loser, accepted it, and then wrote honestly about it. He never tried to be anything other than what he was. The genius in Bukowski's work was not in overcoming unbelievable odds or developing himself into a shining literary light. It was the opposite. It was his simple ability to see completely unflinchingly honest with himself, especially the worst parts of himself, and to share his feelings without hesitation or doubt. This is the real story of Bukowski's success, his comfort with himself as a failure. Bukowski didn't give a fuck about success. Even after his fame, he still showed up to be poetry readings, hammered and verbally abused people in his audience. He still exposed himself in a public and tried to sleep with every woman he could find. Fame and success didn't make him a better person. Nor was it by becoming a better person that he became famous and successful. Self-improvement and success often occur together. So let's go out of the book for a moment. I think self-improvement and success often occur together. I think the same too. Cause when I start reading this book, I was like so bad at reading, and like I couldn't even pronounce the words properly. But now I think I'm getting the fluency, because maybe I'm getting a little bit comfortable listening to my own sound when I'm talking. Okay, let's continue. But that doesn't necessarily mean they are the same thing. Our culture today is obsessively focused on unrealistically positive expectations. Be happier, be healthier, be the best, better than the rest, be smarter, faster, richer, sexier. Let's go to the page number 4. Most popular, more productive, more envied, and more admired. Be perfect and amazing, and crap out 12 karat gold. Okay, 12 karat gold nuggets before breakfast. Be perfect and amazing, and crap out 12 karat shit, man. Why do I keep on reading karat? Let's do it again. Be perfect and amazing, and crap out 12 karat gold nuggets before the breakfast each morning while kissing your selfie ready spouse and 2.5 kids goodbye. What the fuck it means? 2.5 kids goodbyes. Then fly your helicopter to your wonderfully fulfilling job. Damn, what a dream. Where you spend your days doing incredibly meaningful work that's likely to save the planet one day. Okay, it's getting interesting now. But when you stop and really think about it, conventional life advice, all the positive and happy self-help stuff we hear all the time, is actually fixating on what you lack. It lasers in what you perceive your personal shortcomings and failures to already be, and then emphasize them for you. You learn about the best way to make money because you feel you don't have enough money already. You stand in front of the mirror and repeat affirmations saying that you are beautiful because you feel as though you are not beautiful already. You follow dating and relationship advice because you feel that you're unlovable already. You try goofy visualization exercise about being more successful because you feel as though you aren't successful enough already. Ironically, this fixation on the positive, on what's better, what's superior, only serves to remind us over and over again of what we are not, of what we lack, of what we should have been but failed to be. After all, no truly happy person feels the need to stand in front of a mirror and recite that she is happy. There's a saying in Texas, the smallest dog barks the loudest. A confident man doesn't need to prove that he's confident. A rich woman doesn't feel a need to convince anybody that she is rich. Either you are or you are not. And if you are dreaming of something all the time, then you are reinforcing the same unconscious reality over and over, that you are not that. Everyone in their TV commercials want you to believe that the key to a good life is nicer job, or a more rugged car, a prettier girlfriend, or a hot tub with an inflatable pool for the kids. The whole is constantly telling you that the path to a better life is more, but buy more, own more, make more, fuck more, be more. You are constantly bombarded with messages to give a fuck about everything all the time. Give a fuck about a news TV. Give a fuck about having a better vacation than your co-workers. Give a fuck about buying that new lawn ornament. Give a fuck about having the right kind of selfie stick. Damn. That was intense. Okay, let's continue the book. Why? My guess, because giving a fuck about most stuff is good for business. And while there's nothing wrong with a good business, the problem is that giving too many fuck is bad for your mental health. It causes you to become overly attached to a superficial and fake, to dedicate your life to chasing the mirrors of happiness and satisfaction. The key to good life is not giving a fuck about more. It's giving a fuck about less. Giving a fuck about only what is true and immediate and important. The feedback loop from the hell. Yeah, it's a small like topic on a bold letters. It says the feedback loop from the hell, and underneath it, uh, this is what it's written. I'm gonna continue reading. There's an insidious quirk to your brain that, if you let it, can drive you absolutely batty. Tell me if it sounds familiar to you. Page number 6. You get anxious. How do I say this word? Anxious. Okay, you get anxious about confronting somebody in your life. That anxiety cripples you and you start wondering why you are so anxious. Now you are becoming an anxious. It's a little bit difficult for me to pronounce, but hopefully I'll improve my pronunciation as I go, as I keep reading the books, as I keep on doing the podcast. So for now, let's just continue the book. Now you are becoming anxious. Okay, now you are becoming anxious about being anxious. Oh no, doubtly anxious. Now you are anxious about your anxiety, which is causing more anxiety. Quick, where's the whiskey? Oh, let's say you have an anger problem. You get pissed off at the stupidest, most insane stuff, and you have no idea why. And that fact that you get pissed off so easily start to piss you off even more. And then, in your pretty rage, you realize that being angry all the time makes you shallow and mean person. And you hate this. You hate it so much that you get angry at yourself. Now look at you. You are angry at yourself, getting angry about being angry. Fuck you, Wal. Here, have the feast. Have a feast. Or you are so worried about doing the right things all the time that you become worried about how much you are worrying, or you feel so guilty for every mistake you make that you being to feel guilty about how guilty you are feeling, or you get sad and alone so often that it makes you feel even more sad and alone just thinking about it. Welcome to the feedback loop from hell. Chances are you have engaged in it more than a few times. Maybe you are engaging it in right now. God, I do the feedback loop all the time. I'm such a loser for doing it. I should stop. Oh my God, I feel like such a loser for calling myself a loser. I should stop calling myself a loser. Oh fuck, I'm doing it again. See, I'm a loser. Calm down, amigo. Believe it or not, this is a part of a beauty of being human. Very few animals on earth have the ability to think cogent thoughts to begin with, but we humans have a luxury of being able to have thoughts about our thoughts. So I can think about watching Miley Cyrus video on YouTube, then immediately think about what a sicko I am for wanting to watch Miley Cyrus videos. I think it's a psycho. So I can think about watching Miley Cyrus video on YouTube and then immediately think about what a psycho I am for wanting to watch Miley Cyrus video on YouTube. The miracle of consciousness. Now, here's the problem. Our society today, through the wonders of consumer culture and hey, look, my life is cooler than yours social media, has bred a whole generation of people who believed that having these negative experiences, anxiety, fear, guilt, etc., is totally not okay. I mean, if you look at your Facebook feed, everybody there is having a fucking grand old time. Look, 80 people got married this week, and some 16-year-old on TV got a Ferrari for her birthday. And another kid just made $2 billion investing in an app that automatically delivers you more toilet paper when you run out. Meanwhile, you're stuck at home flossing your cat, flossing, whatever you can, and you can't help but think your life sucks even more than you thought. The feedback loop from hell has become a borderline epidemic, making many of us overly stressed, overly neurotic, and overly self-loathing. Back in Grandpa's day, he would feel like shit and think to himself, "Gee whiz, I sure do feel like a cow toad today." But hey, I guess that's just life. Back to shoveling hay. But now if you feel like shit for even 5 minutes, you are bombarded with 350 images of people living totally happy and having amazing fucking lives, and it's possible to not feel like there's something wrong with you. It's the last part that gets us into trouble. We feel bad about feeling bad. We feel guilty for feeling guilty. We get angry about getting angry. We get anxious about feeling anxious. What is wrong with me? Okay, that was not my word. That was the part of the book. Okay, what's wrong with me? This is why not giving a fuck is so key. This is why it's going to save the world, and it's going to save it by accepting the world is totally fucked, and that's alright, because it's always being that way and always will be. By not giving a fuck, that you will feel bad, you short circuit the feedback loop from hell. You say to yourself, I feel like shit, but who gives a fuck? And then, as if sprinkled by magic fog giving fairy dust, you stop hating yourself for feeling so bad. George Orwell said that to see what's in front of one's nose requires a constant struggle. Well, the solution to our stress and anxiety is right there in front of our noses. And we're too busy watching porn and advertisements for app machines that don't work, wondering why we're not banging a hot blondie with a rocking six-pack to notice. We joke offline about first world problems, but we really have become victims of our own success. Stress-related health issues, anxiety disorders, and cases of depression have skyrocketed over the past 30 years, despite the fact that everyone has flat screen TV and can have their groceries delivered. Our crisis is no longer material, it's existential, it's spiritual. We have so much stuff and so many opportunities that we don't even know what to give a fuck about anymore. Because there's an infinite amount of things we can now see or know, there are also an infinite number of ways we can discover that we don't measure up, that we are not good enough, that things aren't great as they could be, and this rips us apart inside, because there's the thing that's wrong with all of the how to be happy shit that's been shared 8 million times on Facebook in the past few years. Here's what nobody realizes about all of this crap. The desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience. And paradoxically, the acceptance of no one's negative experience is itself a positive experience. Okay, let me read this once more. The desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience. And paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is itself a positive experience. Damn. That was so meaningful. This is a total mindfuck. So I'll give you a minute to unpraisel your brain and maybe read that again. Oh, that's what I exactly did right now. Wanting positive experience is a negative experience. Accepting negative experience is a positive experience. So yeah, I got it. I hope you guys got it too. So let's continue. It's what the philosopher Alan Watts used to refer to as the backwards law. The idea that the money you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become as pursuing something only reinforces that the fact you lacked in it the first place. The more you desperately want to be rich, the more poor and unworthy you feel, regardless of how much money you actually make. The more you desperately want to be sexy and desired, the uglier you come to see yourself, regardless of your actual physical appearance. The more you desperately want to be happy and loved, the lonelier and more afraid you become, regardless of those who surround you. The more you want to be spiritually enlightened, the more self-centered and shallow you become in trying to get that. Damn, this thing is so fucking true. I think everybody should know that, should understand, not just know, should understand, what it's actually trying to say. The whatever we want, we feel like we're not getting. I think we want it to be that, or we wanted to get that thing because we don't have it. So maybe ultimately we feel like more we try to get, like, that might be the cause of the war and all, because people, when they get in the powerful position, they want it to be more powerful, and they might feel like not being more powerful, and they might feel like, if I defeat this country, or if I won the war against all of it, I might be more powerful. Maybe that was and ultimately it's gonna take to the negative side, dark side of the world. So yeah, maybe it's all about the main problem is our desire and bad things. I think that's a lot of philosophy. So let's continue the book. It's like this. One time I tripped on a seat, and it felt like the more I walked towards the house, the farther away the house got from me. The farther away the house got from me. And yes, I used my LSD hallucinations to make a philosophical point about happiness. No fucks given. Oh, it's the essential. It's the fuck, how do I read? Existential philosopher Albert Camus said, and I'm pretty much sure he wasn't on LSD at that time, you will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life. Or put some simply, don't try. Now I know that you are saying, Mark, this is making my nipples all hard, but what about the Camaro I've been saving up for? What about the beach body I've been starving myself for? After all, I paid a lot of money for that ab machine. What about the big house on the lake I've been dreaming of? If I should stop or fuck about those things, well, then I'll never achieve anything, and I don't want that to happen, do I? So glad you asked. Ever notice that sometimes when you care less about something, you do better at it? Notice how it's often the person who is the least interested in the success of something that actually ends up achieving it. Notice how sometimes when you stop giving a fuck, everything seems to fall into a place. What's with that? What's interesting about the backwards law is that if it's called backwards for a reason, not giving a fuck works in reverse. Okay, I'm getting it. I think you guys might also have faced this kind of situation in your life, because whenever you don't need anything, when you're focusing on different thing, you get that thing that you were not interested in, but a lot of people might be interested on it. Like, I got an incident on my workplace, because I really wanted, like, I'm the kind of person who likes to learn new things, and I used to ask my boss when I was a new worker, because they were not allowing to learn the stuff by myself, because they were like, there are certain policies of the company that anybody cannot do anything. Okay, you guys need to be trained to do something, and I was like very much interested in learning like a different machine. I don't want to tell everything, and I wanted to learn how it's operated, but most of the people, they wanted to be permanent in the job, and because I was looking for something else, I got that thing that I was not interested in. I got to learn the machine, and overall I got the permanent by myself. But I literally had no idea of being permanent in that company. But yeah, it is what it is. This word reminds me exactly. I think there's a plane or helicopter going on, flying over my house at the moment. I can hear it. So let's leave that aside and let's continue the book. The first chapter, oh my god, it's pretty long. Where was I? What's interesting? Backward for the reason, not giving a fuck. Okay, I think I don't know where I was, but I'm gonna read it from here. Yeah, it's called backward for a reason, not giving a fuck works in reverse. If pursuing the positive is a negative, then pursuing the negative generates the positive. The pain you pursue in the gym results in better all-round health and energy. The failures in business are what lead to the better understanding of what's necessary to be successful. Being open with your insecurities paradoxically makes you more confident and charismatic around others. The pain of honest confrontation is what generates the greatest trust and respect in your relationships. Suffering through your fears and anxieties is what allows you to build courage and perseverance. Seriously, I could keep going, but you get the point. Everything worthwhile in life is won through surmounting the associated negative experience. Any attempt to escape the negative, to avoid it, or quash it or silence it only backfires. The avoidance of suffering is a form of suffering. The avoidance of struggle is a struggle. The denial of failure is a failure. Hiding what is shameful is itself a form of shame. Pain is an inextricable thread of the fabric of life, and to tear it out is not only impossible but destructive. Attempting to tear it out unravels everything else with it. To try to avoid pain is to give many fucks about pain. In contrast, you are able to not give a fuck about the pain. You become unstoppable. In my life, I have given a fuck about many things. I have not given a fuck about many things, and like the road not taken, it was the fucks not giving that made all the difference. Chances are you know somebody in your life who at one time or another didn't give a fuck and then went on to accomplish amazing feats. Perhaps there was a time in your own life when you simply did not give a fuck and excelled to some extraordinary height. For myself, quitting my day job in finance after only 6 weeks to start an internet business ranks pretty high up there in my own didn't give a fuck. All of same. Same with deciding to sell most of the possessions and move to South America. Fucks given? None. Just went and did it. These moments of non-fuckery are the moments that must define our lives. The major switch in careers, the spontaneous choice to drop out of college and join a rock band, the decision to finally dump that deadbeat boyfriend whom you caught wearing your pantyhose a few too many times. To not give a fuck is to stare down life's most terrifying and difficult challenges and still take action. While not giving a fuck may seem simple on the surface, it's a whole new bag of burritos under the hood. I don't even know what that sentence means, but I don't give a fuck. A bag of burritos sounds awesome, so let's just go with it. Most of us struggle throughout our lives by giving too many fucks in situations where fucks do not deserve to be given. We give too many fucks about rude gas station attendant who give us our chance in nickels. We give too many fucks when a show we liked was cancelled on TV. We give too many fucks when our co-workers don't bother asking us about awesome weekend. Meanwhile, our credit card are maxed out, our dog hates us, and Junior is snorting meth in the bathroom. Look, this is how it works. You are going to die one day. I know that's kind of obvious, but I just wanted to remind you in case you had forgotten. You and everyone you know are going to be dead soon, and in the short amount of time between here and there, you have a limited amount of fucks to give, a very few in fact, and if you go around giving a fuck about everything and everyone without conscious thought or choice, well, then you are going to get fucked. There's a subtle art of not giving a fuck, and though the concept may sound ridiculous and I may sound like an asshole, what I'm talking about here is essentially learning how to focus and prioritize your thoughts effectively, how to pick and choose what matters to you and what does not matter to you based on finely earned personal values. This is incredibly difficult. It takes a lifetime of practice and discipline to achieve, and you will regularly fail. But it is perhaps the most worthy struggle and one can undertake in one's life. It is perhaps the only struggle in one's life. Because when you give too many fucks, when you give a fuck about everyone and everything, you will feel that you are perpetually entitled to be comfortable and happy at all the times. That everything is supposed to be just exactly the fucking way you want it to be. This is sickness and it will eat you alive. You will see every adversity as an injustice, every challenge as a failure, every inconvenience as a personal slight, and every disgracement as a betrayal. You will be confined to your own petty skull-sized hell, burning with entitlement and bluster, running circles around you, very own personal feedback loop from the hell in constant motion yet arriving nowhere. The subtle of art not giving a fuck. The subtle art of not giving a fuck. When most people envision giving no fucks whatsoever, they imagine a kind of serene indifference to everything, a calm that weather all storms. They imagine and aspire to be a person who is shaken by nothing and caves into no one. There is a name for a person who finds no emotion or meaning to anything: a psychopath. Why would you want to emulate a psychopath? I have no fucking clue. So what does not giving a fuck mean? Let's look at these subtleties that would help clarify the matter. Subtlety number 1. Not giving a fuck does not mean being indifferent. It means being comfortable with being different. Let's be clear, there is absolutely nothing admirable or confident about indifference. People who are indifferent are lame and scared. They are couch potatoes and internet trolls. In fact, indifferent people often attempt to be indifferent because in reality they give way too many fucks. They give a fuck about what everyone think of their hair. They never bother washing or combing it. They give a fuck about what everyone thinks of their ideas, so they hide behind sarcasm and self-righteous snark. They are afraid to let anyone get close to them. What is this sound? I can hear some sound. I think someone is repairing something. I don't know. Let's not give a fuck about it and let's continue the book. And self-righteous snark. They are afraid to let anyone get close to them, so they imagine themselves as some special, unique snowflake who has problems that nobody else would ever understand. Indifferent people are afraid of the world and the repercussions of their own choices. That's why they don't make any meaningful choices. They hide in a gray, emotionless pit of their own making, self-absorbed and self-pitying, perpetually distracting themselves from the unfortunate things demanding their time and energy called life. Because there's a sneaky truth about life. There's no such thing as not giving a fuck. You must give a fuck about something. It's part of our biology to always care about something and to always care about something and therefore to always give a fuck. The question then is, what do we give a fuck about? What are we choosing to give a fuck about, and how can we not give a fuck about what ultimately does not matter? My mother was recently screwed out of a large chunk of money by a close friend of hers. Damn, who is this man? Okay, I can still hear him. Okay, there's a guy. So just give me a second, guys. I should give a fuck about this sound because it's gonna disturb a lot. So I'm walking at the moment. I'm trying to close my door because I'm doing this recording in a living room, and there's a house just next to my apartment, and it's probably one of the guys trying to fix something in his house. I don't know whatever he's doing. Maybe let's turn the light on because it's already almost 10 to 6 in the evening, and let's continue our book. Where was I? The question is then, what do we give a fuck about? Okay, I don't know where I was, but I'm gonna read it from here because there's a sneaky truth about life. There's no such thing as not giving a fuck. You must give a fuck about something. It's a part of our biology to always care about something and therefore to always give a fuck. The question is then is, what do we give a fuck about? What are we choosing to give a fuck about? And how can we not give a fuck about what ultimately does not matter? My mother was recently screwed out a large chunk of money by a close friend of hers. Had I been indifferent, I would have shrugged my shoulders, sipped my mocha, and downloaded another season of The Wire. Sorry, mom. But instead, I was indignant. I was pissed off. I said, "No, screw that. Mom, we are going to the lawyer the fuck off and go after his asshole." Why? Because I don't give a fuck. I will ruin this guy's life if I have to. This illustrates the first subtlety of not giving a fuck. S-U-B-T-E-L-Y, subtly. First subtly of not giving a fuck. When we say, damn, watch out, Mark Manson just don't give a fuck, we don't mean that Mark Manson doesn't care about anything. On the contrary, we mean that Mark Manson doesn't care about adversity in the face of his goals. He doesn't care about pissing some people off to do what he feels is right or important or noble. We mean that Mark Manson is the type of the guy who would write about himself in the third person just because he thought it was right things to do. He just doesn't give a fuck. This is what is so admirable. No, not me, dumbass. The overcoming adversity stuff. The willingness to be different, an outcast, a pariah, all for the sake of one's own values. The willingness to stare failure in the face and shove your middle finger back at it. The people who don't give a fuck about adversity or failure or embarrassing themselves or sitting the bed a few times. The people who just laugh and then do what they believe in anyway because they know it's right. They know it's more important than they are. They're more important than their own feelings and their own pride and their own ego. They say fuck it, no to everything in life, but rather to everything unimportant in life. They reserve their fucks for what truly matters. Friends, family, purpose, burritos, and that sounds good. And an occasional lawsuit or two. And because of that, because they reserve their fucks for only the things that matter, people give a fuck about them in return. Because here's another sneaky little truth about life: you can't be important and life changing presence for some people without also being a joke and an embarrassment to others. You just can't, because there's no such thing as lack of adversity. It doesn't exist. The old saying that no matter where you go, there you are. Well, the same is true for adversity and failure. No matter where you go, there's a 500-pound load of shit waiting for you, and that's perfectly fine. The point isn't to get away from that shit. The point is to find the shit inside. The point is to find the shit you enjoy dealing with. Subtly too. To not give a fuck about adversity, you must first give a fuck about something more important than adversity. Imagine you are at a grocery store and you watch an elderly lady scream at the cashier, berating him for not accepting her 30-cent coupon. Why does this lady give a fuck? It's just 30 cents. I'll tell you why. That lady probably doesn't have anything better to do with her days than to sit home cutting out coupons. She's old and lonely. Her kids are decades and never visit. She hasn't had sex in over 30 years. She can't fart without extreme lower back pain. Her pension is on its last legs, and she's probably going to die in a diaper thinking she's in Candyland. So she snips coupon, that's all she has got. It's her and her damn coupons. It's all she can give a fuck about because there's nothing else to give a fuck about. And so when that pimply-faced 17-year-old cashier refuses to accept one of them, when he defends his cash register's purity the way knights used to defend maidens' virginity, you can bet Granny is going to erupt. 80 years of fucks will rain down all at once like a fiery hailstorm of back in my day, and people used to show more respect stories. The problem with people who hand out fucks like ice cream at a goddamn summer camp is that they don't have anything more fuck worthy to dedicate their fucks to. If you find something consistently giving too many fucks about trivial shit that bothers you, your ex-boyfriend's new Facebook profile, how quickly the batteries die in the TV remote, missing out on yet another 2-for-1 sale on hand sanitizer, chances are that you don't have much going in your life to give a legitimate fuck about. And that's your real problem, not the hand sanitizer, not the TV remote. I once heard an artist say that when a person has no problems, the mind automatically finds a way to invent some. I think that what most people, especially educated, pampered middle-class white people consider life problems are really just side effect of not having anything more important to worry about. It then follows that finding something important and meaningful in your life is perhaps the most productive use of your time and energy. I'm not suggesting this is easy, especially if you're old and poor and alone and farty, but it's important because you don't find meaningful something that fucks will be given to meaningless and frivolous causes. Subtly 3. Whether you realize it or not, you are always choosing what to give a fuck about. People aren't just born not giving a fuck. In fact, we are born giving away too many fucks. Every watch a kid cry his eyes out because his head is wrong shade of blue. Exactly, fuck that kid. When you are young, everything is new and exciting, and everything seems to matter so much. Therefore, we give tons of fucks. We give a fuck about everything and everyone, about what people are saying about us, about whether that cute boy or girl called us back or not, about whether our socks match or not, or what color our birthday balloon need. As we get older, with the benefit of experience and having seen so much of time slip by, we begin to notice that most of these sorts of things have little lasting impact on our life. Those people whose opinions we care about so much before are no longer present in our lives. Rejection that were painful in the moment have actually worked out for the best. We realize how little attention people pay to those superficial details about us, and we choose not to obsess so much over them. Essentially, we become more selective about the fucks we are willing to give. This is something called maturity. It's nice, you try it sometime. Maturity is what happens when one learns to only give a fuck about what's truly fuck worthy. As Bonk Morland said to his partner, Detective McNulty in The Wire, which fuck you I still downloaded. That's what you get for a fucking fuck when it wasn't your return to give a fuck. Then, as we grow older and enter middle age, something else begins to change. Our energy level drops, our identity solidifies. We know who we are, and we accept ourselves, including some of the parts we aren't thrilled about. And in a strange way, this is liberating. We no longer need to give a fuck about everything. Life is just what it is. We accept it, warts and all. We realize that we are never going to cure cancer or go to the moon or feel Aniston's teeth or feel Aniston's tits, and that's okay. Life goes on. We now reserve our ever-wielding fox for more truly fuck-worthy part of our lives, our families, our best friends, our golf swing, and to our astonishment, this is enough. This simplification actually makes us really fucking happy on a consistent basis, and we start to think maybe that crazy alcoholic Bukoswi was onto something. Don't try. So Mark, what the fuck is the point of this book anyway? This book will help you think a little bit more clearly about what you are choosing to find important in life and what you are choosing to find unimportant. I believe that today we are facing a psychological epidemic, one in which people no longer realize it's okay for things to suck sometimes. I know that sounds intellectually lazy on the surface, but I promise you it's a life-death sort of issue. Because when we believe that it's not okay for things to suck sometimes, we unconsciously start blaming ourselves. We start to feel as though something is inherently wrong with us, which drive us to all sort of over compensation, like buying 40 pairs of shoes or donning Xanax with a vodka chaser on a Tuesday night, or shooting up for a school bus full of kids. This belief that it's not okay to be inadequate sometimes is the source of growing feedback loop from hell that is coming to dominate our culture. The idea of not giving a fuck is a simple way of reorienting our expectation for life and choosing what is important and what is not. Developing this ability leads to something I like to think of as a kind of practical enlightenment. No, not that airy fairy eternal bliss end of all suffering bullshitty kind of enlightenment. On the contrary, I see practical enlightenment as becoming comfortable with idea that some suffering is always invisible. That no matter what you do, life is comprised of failures, loss, regrets, and even death. Because once you become comfortable with all the shit that life throws at you, and it will throw a lot of shit, trust me, you become invincible in a sort of low-level spiritual way. After all, the only way to overcome pain is to first learn how to bear it. This book doesn't give a fuck about alleviating your problems or your pain, and that is precisely why you will know it's being honest. This book is not some guide to greatness. It couldn't be, because greatness is merely an illusion in our minds, a mind of destination that we obligate ourselves to pursue our own psychological Atlantis. Instead, this book will turn your pain into a tool, your trauma into power, and your problem into slightly better problems. That is real progress. Think of it as a guide to suffering and how to do better, more meaningfully, with more compassion and more humility. It's a book about moving lightly despite your heavy burdens, resting easier with your greatest fear, laughing at your tears, and you cry them. This book will not teach you about how to gain or achieve, but rather how to lose and let go. It will tell you to take inventory of your life and scrub all out but the most important items. It will teach you to close your eyes and trust that you can fall backwards and still be okay. It will teach you to give fewer fucks. It will teach you to not try. It will teach you to not try. Alright, there was page number 22, the subtle art of not giving a fuck. And we just finished reading chapter 1, Don't Try. And the chapter 2, I don't think I'll be doing today. I'll be doing in the next audio session or the podcast session or whatever I'm doing at the moment. I don't know. But yeah, if you guys, I don't know if anyone is listening to this podcast or this book at the moment or not. But yeah, that was it for now. And yeah, it's a pretty good. I feel like reading the whole book today, but probably I'll read the chapter 2 tomorrow, because too much at a time is not so good. And it's getting interesting on the chapter 1. So the chapter 2, happiness is a problem, we're gonna talk about it on the next session. Thank you all of you for listening to chapter 1 of the subtle art of not giving a fuck in my channel, wherever the channel I have uploaded it to. That's it. How do I turn it off? Okay. See you guys.